Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move into discussion and action by mayor and council. And the purpose of this meeting was to discuss the farmers market. And our recreation director, Brad Epperly, is here, and I believe you prepared a slide presentation for us.
We've worked on it together, so it'll be some items that'll be from myself from Parks and Recreation, and then Brad will also be doing some things involving with the grant and things along those. So, Mr. Christina for development.
So if you're ready, we're ready.
Yeah, we'll get started. So the first thing is you'll see the demographics. We did a survey earlier this year prior to the farmers market starting, and you can see there basically from an age perspective, it's pretty diverse all the way around. For most of the responses that we received, regarding the survey, 83% were women and 16% were men. So not quite as diverse in that set, but just to give you a little bit of idea of who took the time to do the surveys and what they came back as. So the one of the questions was, park versus parking lot. We're talking a little bit more from a temporary standpoint, not necessarily the grant perspective. But what in the past we have done the parking lot at the recreation center, and this past year this year we decided to try to do something in the back lot to see if that would provide a little bit more room for space to do specialty type events and those types of things. What we found out was it was much safer back there, but it wasn't very visible. And so that affected, we believe that affected the customers coming to the market. And so at that point, we'd already set up one market at the park because that was something the vendors had requested us to do. And so we did that. When the things started going a little bit south in the back lot, we said, okay, we're going to move it back to the front lot to where there's more visibility. At that point, what we ran into was vendors basically saying that they didn't want to do it in a recreation center lot. They wanted to do it at the park. The one time that they did it at the park, they saw some success. We did run into some weather and things along those lines, but they saw success and they felt like it was more of a market atmosphere with the permanent shelter and those types of things. And so basically, a lot of the vendors came back to us and said that they had more interaction at the park than they did the recreation center. The pavilion provides shading for weather and those types of things. If I'm not mistaken, I think one of the first times we did it at the park, there came a pretty good rain. Whereas in most circumstances at the recreation center in the parking lot, people were getting wet and those types of things. But with most of the vendors under the pavilion, they still was able to do business as what they had even when it was sunny. The attendance at the park is averaging approximately around 300 each week, give or take, which is a pretty considerable increase from where we were last year at the recreation center. I think our final last year was, from an attendance standpoint, was 208 was our approximate average last year. So almost 100, close to 100 more patrons that have been coming to the market at the park. The vendors basically cited the park as having better sales, more foot traffic, improved setup, better feel, safer parking, and family friendly. There's a lot of things that are going on at the park, whether it's, families just enjoying the playground and the splash pad, or if we have athletic events going on or people in the dog park. It provided more of an opportunity to people that maybe weren't coming to the farmers market, but then they saw it and they're like, hey, what's going on here? Let's stop by. And so that's sort of a little bit of the difference of the park versus the parking lot. Some of the feedback we received from our vendors, one of our longest standing vendors, Cavalier Farms, they've been with us since the beginning. They got a taste of the park and was very excited about that, and actually had talked about not coming back to do our market if we didn't move it to the park. We also had a couple others that said the same thing. after going to the Huckleberry Park, the feel of the recreation center lot just wasn't the same. And so, we tried to listen to what they said, and at that point, we were getting tight on vendors, if I'm being completely honest. And when vendors start saying, we're not coming back, well, if we don't have vendors, then we don't have a market. And so we had to act pretty quickly on this. And so that's what we did. And we've been averaging anywhere between 8 and 11 vendors. Obviously, our goal this year going into it was 12 vendors, so we're a little bit shy of that, but I think we're getting there at times. So we're going to keep working towards that. There's a couple of things we've been able to do here recently that I think will encourage other vendors to come as well. In the past, it was a requirement that all vendors have insurance, and that kept some vendors away just because they're smaller business and they wouldn't make enough really to compensate what their insurance purposes were. And so we worked, with our legal team on that and was able to get that worked out to where we have that opportunity now. I think that, we won't see the dividends completely this year on that, but I think next year is when we'll see that, because a lot of those folks that came to us at the beginning of the year, they were wanting that and they just couldn't do it because we had the insurance there. So I'll turn it over to Retta for this.
So I am gonna talk a little bit about the grant that we have received and the actual structure, the construction, and kind of where we are right now. And answer any questions that you might have about that. So I actually met with BHCD this week because we just received a new agent who's representing us. They did some shuffling around. So I was able to ask them very specific questions. And within the contract that I provided you all with a copy of, it's the agreement. If we are to just cancel the ARC contract right now, we would lose $275,000. That's how much we granted for this project. And if we are to alternate locations, then we wouldn't have enough. If you want to go to page 6 in the agreement, there are performance measures that in our application we agreed to. Those performance measures, we would not be able to meet those if we were to alternate the market, as in have it at one location one Thursday and then another location another day, or another Thursday the next week.
Again, if we have it there this week,
So,
but not next week.
right, so if we alternate, like if we had it at the park one Thursday,
You just have to have one established day downtown.
Yes.
To
so.
During the season.
to be able to keep the grant.
Yes, and so if we are at a point where we would want to expand and have another day, then that would be permitted, because then we would have a market downtown every week. Just as an example, if we did.
Is there a time stipulation? I mean, if you do that for a year and if it doesn't work out, I mean, or does that mean you have to have it there indefinitely?
It doesn't mean you have to have it there indefinitely.
Right.
I think you have to give it a good go, and in my mind, that's probably 3 years in my mind. I think you could probably argue that, and they probably won't give you a date or a number of years, really.
No.
But they just kind of expect it to be implemented, and like I say, give a good faith effort.
I would really like to get an answer from our lawyer, or maybe someone from the ARC that is in writing. Just, saying that, is it a year, is it 6 months? He said, 3 years or 2 years, because the chances are, what if, and as council members, they decide to do something else later on, or maybe it really doesn't work out, we have tried it there before, and right now Huckleberry seems to be working out better, but, I mean, there's a lot of things that are unknown right now. And, right here it says, 15 businesses include, is that talking about futuristic or right now? Because I know there were several businesses that were on that application before that are no longer there.
Right, and looking at the application, what I can gather from that, it was the vendors that they were considering at that time, saying.
Okay, so it's not technically businesses in the town, like the Mockingbird or Charlie's Restaurant.
The vendors.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the audit, so DHCD, they do audits to make sure that you're in compliance with whatever they've.
But that's why it would be really good for us to know what does that look like, because I mean, not too long ago, we're talking maybe we'll just completely won't do this. And I mean, there were other people that work for the town that gave a lot of other information to me. The past manager assistant gave me information that we could do. We didn't really have to build that structure, but we could fix the road or we could do something else with that and then make that, movable, things so we could be able to move them to another place later on possibly. And so it would be really nice to see exactly what is the report. Because I mean, you can have a structure that's movable. What if that doesn't work out? We have it over here by where the Wells Fargo drive-through was, and who's to say that that's a great location? Because if you compare the town of Christiansburg to other towns like Salem or Floyd or, I mean, many of the markets around the country or even the state, a lot of them have a structure that very much so is not in the street. You don't have to use the street for this. And right now, because the application was done and there were different things that were in place back then that are possibly maybe not applicable today. One of the things that he brought up that really makes sense is obviously, you want to make sure you have vendors. If you don't have no vendors, you have no market. And so.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's fair. And so I also don't see anything on this contract where the signatures are or everything else. I mean, is there a signed contract? I'm sure there is.
I'd say this.
It's signed in here,
Where?
page 5.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I missed that page.
It's not a thing.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Which I did ask about the relocating because I know we've mentioned that before, locating possibly in the new parking area that we own. And they said that we would need to at least get a new environmental review at minimum. So then we would need to get a new environmental review and it would kind of like be starting the process over. We would have to apply and ask for those funds. And
I think that.
with the location as of right now, what the application utilized for matching, it was in kind. So the work from, the drainage project, that was utilized as leverage for.
Yeah, but you are really spending the money.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So any funds that we would need to match with, we would need to come up with in-kind work or.
Which I think the parking space of the Wells Fargo area will need a lot of improvement. And so, I mean, you were mentioning some stuff the other day. Does the creek go underneath there too, or not?
There's
Keep on back.
a little bit of a creek in that back, and go, through the park here. There is.
So I mean, there is a lot of work that can be done in there, which we were talking about one of the meetings the other day that you were mentioning.
So may I ask, we have a $275,000 grant What is the cost to build that structure?
Depends on exactly what you build, and that depends on the design.
So, I mean, you could be looking, I think one of the figures that was presented at one time was $750,000. So, I mean,
That was if you went with,
well,
my
I forget what, a
understanding.
permanent structure, whatever, I think that's
Yeah.
what we were looking at, and that figure crosses. That figure sticks in my mind for some reason, that it was upwards of
Well, there were
7.
different things, the ideas they run with.
Yeah.
One was to completely close down the whole, road or halfway, or even just have some umbrella type that opened up only during the market side. I mean, that, I kind of like that too. You could actually make those impulse.
Well, they showed us a retractable structure that would go out during the market and then it would.
And that was able to be movable. The only thing you had to buy was the metal pipe things or whatever.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there is, from what I've heard in the past, especially from Andrew, was that you could do something like that for the future, because if that didn't work out.
so basically we lose $275,000 towards a grant to build a $750,000 structure that would cost us $500,000.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
We have done a little bit of upfront work with Hickok Street in the way of, I guess, like additional, like basically support for the farmers market, which we may have done some of anyhow, like the stamping of the walkway. We were gonna probably do that either way. Although I think they have a little bit of additional, I guess, concrete in that area planned because of the structures. So.
But I mean, that's always good to have either way, because you may have a big sign that says Christiansburg or something.
One additional thing is, right now we have a $44,100 grant for design, and we've spent $15,301. And I believe we would have to repay the $15,301 that's been spent, if we didn't proceed with it.
How long does it take for you to reapply for that? Because if we were to reapply for, I don't think, I mean, we are really awarded for this. Will it be a shift in the money and maybe, because we have been on this program for years, but we didn't even touch it.
Most grants are either a year or 2-year cycles. We can,
They have the start of I think it may be next year, as long as they're not cycling the planning grant and that grant, the actual construction. Because next year, I know that they had that open session for the planning grant to have input for next year. I haven't gotten anything about the,
So what would be our loss if we were to suggest it not come to Hickok Street?
you'd have to write a check, I believe, for $15,301. This is what I think you'd be looking at.
But it's not in comparison to making a big mistake.
And potentially
Right.
a little bit more design money and the $275,000 for the structures.
We opened the farmer's market my first year as mayor, and that was council
For sure.
asked me to open a farmer's market at the time we started working on it. And the first year it went great guns, but the attendance dropped off almost every year after that until such time as we closed it because of the impending work. And, there were times that the attendance downtown fell to well under 150 people on a constant stream. So by having it, if we can consider keeping it at Huckleberry, I mean, when you look at the population of the neighborhoods that live all around there, behind the rec center, down 114, and, there's another 500 units coming across the villas, that's where the core population of the town of Christiansburg is living. And everybody is passing either the rec center or 114 3 or 4 times a day, so on their way back and forth to work. So to me, leaving it at Huckleberry, knowing that we'll most likely keep all the vendors that we have now, plus attract more, as opposed to building something downtown and people can't get to it. The parking downtown is not that great. I'm glad that the Presbyterian Church and they're across the street on Hickox, the construction area behind the around McAdoo's, we've used that parking for a while, but I'm not sure what's parking is gonna be available once this new thing, once we finish up. But I think the fact of the matter is, if the vendors have noticed that the parking is much better and much safer at Huckleberry, and the attendance figure shows that people are accepting the Huckleberry by more than 100, average of 100 people a week, that shows me that maybe that's the spot for it. Now, I don't know, that's certainly a council decision, but when you take in the marketing factor and the people that can walk from the subdivisions adjacent to the park and down through it, can get in there without having to get out on the road and drive, or they can turn in there on their way home from work and do their weekend shopping. It makes it a real natural spot. The rec center did a nice job in what we had asked them to do. But, you hear the comments about the parking lot is so hot, people walk onto. And at least over at Huckleberry, you've got the shelters, and there may be a time that we might want to apply for a grant to build a permanent structure at Huckleberry. I don't know. I mean, we've got all kinds of phases going. We've completed the first phase, but there's not a whole lot sitting out in the future that I'm aware of, unless it's pickleball courts or something along those lines. But I guess my thinking is, you have a built-in market at the Huckleberry from all the way through the farmers market season. With people, kids coming there, people that live around there. I've had several people tell me that that live over on Somerset and right through there, that they just, it's a nice evening walk to go over to the farmer's market, get their stuff and come back and cook it or whatever. I would love to have a Saturday farmer's market, but with the competition we have, and at that time, all the vendors that we had were also going to Salem and Blacksburg and Floyd. It's hard for these small operations to be able to pick enough product and staff 3 farmers markets in the area. So I
like the comments you have made. And I think there's a lot of consideration into all of this, and I'm grateful that we're looking at it from all different perspectives.
I think so too.
I think one of the things that is really kind of being hard for me as far as the farmers market goes. This farmers market, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you started as a way to bring more people downtown.
Correct.
And so if that is the thought behind it, and is not going to be doing that because we tried it, we did it, and sometimes it's a trial and error with everything else we do in life.
We even tried working with the Blacksburg Transit about running a bus.
Yeah.
And that
And I gotta say, our departments have done a great job. Even in Hickox Street, under the conditions that were given, by the time we paid for all this porta potties or whatever you call them, inconvenience of that, still not having the structures there, not having the ability to have enough parking spaces, being in not a location that I will call it, I would like a farmer's market. I will never put a place in there because there is not enough visibility. let's face it, there is not enough visibility. And so if our main thing that it was done for is not there anymore. Right now, you're having now the Huckleberry Park, which, you're working with what you got, and I appreciate that. But one of the concerns that I have at the Huckleberry Park is that, are we doing this for monetary reasons? Are we getting, because we're having people going to the park every day. We don't need a farmer's market to have a reason to go there. I mean, people are going with I'm going over there all the time with my kids, with their dogs and everything else. And I think all these games that we're having and all the people training for different sports there are a lot of people that are walking in there. My biggest concern is if we have it there, what are we having it there for? Because if we are charging a fee to have it there, every time that, for example, and I'm gonna say this, I don't even know how to say this because there is not a conflict, but I have a business, so I'm gonna speak from a business side. I don't know if I have to follow the whole thing with the Koya thing.
We're not in any voting mode right now.
And so what I'm gonna say with that one is that when we have businesses in the town, we have to pay a lot of fees. We have to pay for the building, for rental, for insurance, for the electricity, for HIPAA. I mean, for everything, it comes with the expense of having a business. Now, we're gonna have this, obviously it's a perfect atmosphere for anybody to set that up. Anybody can compete with, for example, flowers. And so if you're having those sales of whatever that is, let's per se a candle shop or something like that, like candles, selling candles or whatever that is. What I'm afraid is that now all of a sudden, instead of that someone coming downtown is gonna go over there to Huckleberry Park, when at the same time, they can go to any store to buy those things too. They can get it from Kroger's, they can get it from anywhere else. What I'm trying to find out, is it really our job to create this and to spend this money? Because it's costing us money to have this farmer's market. I saw that in the budget, we have $7,000, but I can assure you it's not $7,000. You're paying employees. You have to have at least a part-time person designated for this. What is the cost of that? How much? I mean, you have involvement from a lot of stuffing, from cleaning, from doing everything else. And so what is our real cost? Because it's definitely not $7,000. And so, and even if it's at the park, you still have to pay for toilet cleaning, for everything that is not done. And obviously we're taking care of the park. So, I mean, now the other thing is, I know we're renting the casino. There is a lot of room to continue to rent that out too and make money that way. What are we in the business of? We shouldn't be a business. We shouldn't be running businesses. We should just take care of the things that need to be taken care of in the town. We have done a great job with the parks. We have done a great job with taking care of our citizens. But it's our real job to actually provide to a farmer's market right now. At the cost of how much are we losing? How much are we gaining? Because you can get tomatoes from Food Lion, Kroger's, Walmart. I mean, there's a lot of other stores. I know that they may not be local farmers, but those farmers are really going to other markets. So it's not like we cannot get that stuff too.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, it really is. And you look at it, but the reason it was created was one, to help bring people downtown, which I would say it was, can't say how successful that was, because most of the people that came were on their way home from work and lived in that area anyway. And there were a few that would come out from other side of town. I don't know. I think that the citizens, from what I could tell, there are a group of citizens that enjoy the farm's fresh product, and they pay more for them, and they're willing to do that. So I don't know. Would we be underserving a sector of our citizenship if we did not continue a farmer's market at a very, I mean, the cost is negligible because, you know, you say we staff it, we're paying. Well, these people are also special events people and everyone else that are hired to do other jobs. This falls under it. So we're gonna pay them regardless of whether they have a farmer's market or not. And I don't think we've created any new positions for, as a farmer's market management. They're all under special events.
Special events, we have one young lady that, is a part-time employee. She's a recreation assistant for us. She does recreation assistance in the recreation center and other places, but she is always there on farmer's market day. That is one of her roles. And we have another young lady that is a volunteer that's came for the past 2 or 3 years. And then we have basically our special events coordinator and then the special events assistant, who is a Marysburg, who we would pay them either way because that's their role and that's their job. But the one thing that I will say that the park has done versus like when we did it at the recreation center, when we did it at the recreation center, we had to have barricades and those types of things up in there. So then that did, in fact, require more people from our operations staff to come and help set up and those types of things and take down and stuff. Whereas pretty much with what we've got right now at the park, there's very little setup that has to take place other than moving a few picnic tables and putting up the farmer's market signs and things along those lines. More of basically what ends up happening is just guiding the vendors when they come in of what location they're going to be in those types of items. But it's definitely more cost effective, I guess I should say, at the park than it was at the recreation center.
I think you mentioned something about cleaning.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we've got a staff there that cleans the park and the bathrooms until closing, which is what, 7 to 9, 7 o'clock?
We do, we have staff that checks restrooms, and then we also are part of a custodial contract as well through the recreation center and the park too.
but I'm looking at from the perspective of May 8th.
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from, if it comes back to Hickok Street, that's going back to another cost because they're not gonna be bringing us here.
Right.
At the rec center, you got employees that you're really saying that they are there, which they're gonna be there no matter what, you know what I mean? They may have to work harder because there's more population coming that way, but at the same time, those are things that we're trying to put into perspective. If we were to cancel, and this is term, if we were to cancel the farmers market completely, and it's not even at the new park, we still wouldn't fire those employees. I'm sure you can find something else for them to do under the events and everything.
Still gonna do special events.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's plenty for them to do, obviously, and, you know, I think the farmer's market aspect of it, you know, I understand what you're saying, because I'm not gonna sit here and lie, it's been a challenge to make sure we have enough vendors to be able to do the market all the time. That's one reason why we moved it to the park, was because we were trying to save the market and keep going like that. So, you know, I understand what you're saying, and you know, if for some reason we didn't have a farmer's market, that's the wishes of council, then we would do whatever we needed to do, you know, besides that. For me, just personally, I'm a little bit of a competitive person, so like, you know, we started and I like to try to see it through, but I also
you
understand.
started a lot of other things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, you are an accomplished man
I
and you
appreciate
have successfully done a lot for the town that has benefited the town in many other ways. So don't ever think that a thing like the farmer's market, if it was, you know, it's like everything else, you know, we gotta make sure that we're doing the best we can with the money we have from the citizens. And we're making the right decisions, and you are part of that. You're helping us get law. And so don't ever feel that if that ever was to go away, that you haven't succeeded at that. Because I think we all feel like, I feel very sad if it was going to go, to be honest with you, because there is a side where I enjoy having the free jumping houses downtown. You know, when my kids were little, You guys had jumping houses, several times on the farmers. You tried everything you could to make it succeed. You did. You had painters, you had musicians. I mean, the talent show we're talking about and everything
Pet
else.
dog shows,
Dog shows,
Yeah.
I mean, Christmas in July or whatever that was called. I mean, you have done a lot to attract people. That it may not work is not a thing that it would be bad on any of us. I don't think we should take it personal to any of us. Because I think we're trying to make the right decisions. And if the decision was to bring it downtown because you brought people downtown, then we gotta go back to those wishes and say, well, can we look at that perspective and say, can this work?
I think there's a group of people that would prefer going to a farmer's market if it was available to purchase their vegetables that's provided. And the beginning of growing season, people that plant gardens, there's plants in an abundance that those people are providing. I asked the question, has it outlived its purpose? And then I started doing a bit of research and asking around, and again, there's a vast number of people said they prefer to go to a farmer's type market than to go to Food Lion or Kroger or wherever else just to buy their stuff. And so from that perspective, it's a small percent of our population. Obviously, you got 300 people, and you can't guarantee that they're all Christiansburg
And you
natives.
cannot even tell if those 300 people are coming to the farmer's market. They may have gone to the dog park.
Oh,
You know
no,
what I mean?
absolutely, but that's an advantage to
they
having it
count
at
the
the farm.
traffic actually passing the table at the farmer's market. So they figure 300 people is accurate. Those are the ones that actually came inside to the farmer's market where they bought or looked.
But that makes
But,
us more viable to vendors who say, okay, you've got more traffic, you got more stuff. And again, the more vendors we get, then the more
Well,
we
I-
increase in
I'm
population.
looking at it from a different perspective too. Anything, my dad always said this to me, and I think it's true. Anytime there is something new, but a change happens, people will come. Because people are curious. We are curious people. And so you see a sign that there is the farmer's market at the new park, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm curious. I want to go and see what that is. Was it so different and everything? So do I think that we're going to have the same amount of people that we have today in another 3 years? Maybe grow by 3 times more because, people are getting used to it.
Well, there's 500 front doors going across the street there where they're doing all that stuff at the villas. That's 400 or 500.
Well, and it goes back to you're touching another subject that's really important. Are we trying, because when we do these things, you know how I was telling you about there is expenses associated with having a location. I think we can be looking at it from 2 perspectives. Floyd has a market because of the population. They have a lot of farms around. I will call it a country style kind of town. I love going to it. I think it's really impressive. I think they have done a well job. Do I see Christiansburg being that type of town? I so see it more commercial, more industrial. People come from West Virginia all day long to even buy flowers. I mean, they come from I'm amazed that people are driving 3 hours away to go to our mall. 3 hours away.
We have it all the time, so. But so what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting?
My
that-
suggestion is probably just think about not having it and see what that does look like.
We did a farmer's market survey actually at the beginning of the year to ask the public what their input is, and there's some information Rhoda was gonna mention about that. But we asked them a variety of different questions. What your age and your race, and then we also asked if you didn't come to the farmer's market, why didn't you come last season?
Is there a slide on that? Would you advance to it?
Can I ask you how the survey was taken?
We posted it on the website and we pushed it out on social media and asked people to fill it out.
Do you find out how many people are actually from Christiansburg?
We did, I think on there, if they were a Christiansburg resident and only took those, that information in consideration. Like you had to be a Christiansburg resident. We didn't ask addresses or anything, so I guess people could have lied, but
Yeah,
hopefully not.
well, it happens all the time, so. All right, so you have more presentations.
So I don't know if Brenda wants to continue and we can do her.
It was just basically the concept drawing that Hill Studio did, and this is just basically a sketch showing, I guess, potential footprint of the locations of the stalls on Hickok Street. So, basically,
Side view.
Profile, yeah.
That information. Placemaking plan that, the town had received a grant. 50/50 grant to be able to do, it had, some mentionings of the farmer's market in it. And one of the points, so on that one, it says need for the permanent farmer's market structure. My assumption is that the placemaking plan was utilized to be able to apply for the funding for the construction. Because it does call out the permanent structure need. And then it also has mentioning of, expanding the market and having that as one of the signs of success, the ability to expand the farmer's market to Saturday. And it had, yeah. And then the signs of success there at the bottom, those are kind of reasonings behind, I guess, the promotion of it being downtown in the location that is proposed on Hickok Street. There are some of the results from the survey that Christina just mentioned that has the subject of downtown in it. And I will say, so if you take both visions, if you're continuing with the market, if you take both visions, you think about downtown. If you're considering bringing the farmer's market downtown, that is an economic driver for the businesses downtown and for more livelihood downtown. So you're actually doing that for the existing businesses and then maybe businesses to come. If you think about the Huckleberry, it is more geared towards helping the vendors, I think.
Yeah.
If you have it there, then the park already has a large pool of people. I mean, people come there, I go there. And so, that's helping out the vendors and more centrally located on just getting the farmers market to survive and thrive. The other is for more of an economic impact indirectly.
May I ask a question? Maybe this is a question for you. How many of those 11 vendors are Christiansburg people?
I'd have to go back and look, to be honest with you.
I'm not aware of any farms we have in
Yeah,
Christiansburg.
I think
So that's only, it's not,
Firms though, that's
well, they're
been
a
kind
few
of
small ones, yeah.
a variety of different
Yeah.
But the
vendors.
produce vendors we have, I think are all out of,
we
out
have,
of the county or surrounding county.
yeah, the produce vendors are for sure. We have one that I think is from like the Hillsville area, one that is from down in the Salem area, and then one that's from the Dublin area. far as like the other vendors, I would just have to go back and look. I can get you that
Yeah.
information.
I
That's
would
not a
appreciate it.
problem. I just don't want to tell you something wrong right off the.
I found this out. I was not a town council member at the time, but I'm gonna tell you some of the things why the farmers market was great. On September 15 of 2015. The mission of this was to create and support the downtown businesses, help them grow. Create a vision for downtown, a brand, a visual master plan. Fulfill the vision of 2020 as it applies to downtown. To make downtown the hometown place. Increase retail ops. Get involved in recruitment and retention, incentivize. To engage others. To be given as incentives. Work with property owners, change minds, get them involved, advocacy for downtown. Serve as an advisory board for downtowns. Work as liaison between communities and towns towards development. Create SWOT analysis. What markets are being linked to other areas? What do people need? What are our strengths? The mission of the market was to advocate for downtown, to have fulfill a vision of downtown, revitalize downtown, promote and outreach service, and to survey, enhance downtown, support the enhancing of downtown, work with business owners to enhance their buildings, economic development for downtown, transform downtown as a hometown.
Is that on the website? Is that?
Yeah. Mhm. So from all of that, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think, I don't know who was the town council member that asked you to have the farmers market, or how we started or whatever. I'm sure there were it's a great idea, to be honest with you, but sometimes those great ideas can also be, not bad, but they may not work the way we hope that they will work. I do know that I feel that that was the reason why Sam probably, and I'm not going to speak for him, but why he was kind of upset too. And we were all kind of like, why is it at the Huckleberry Park? He's supposed to come back downtown. When I was, I think in central business, I felt like I had to keep it downtown. I had to keep it downtown because of all of those things, and I felt that pressure. But then, COVID happened and Peacock Street happened and everything else happened. And then this investor said, well, I want to build this structure and everything else. If you would have have that done, he would have done it already. I feel he's got the money, whatever. But anyway, talking about that is a different story. I feel like going back to that, if that was a mission statement and that was what was in the back of their minds when it was starting, we need to really look deep down to see what are we doing. Is that what, if we keep it going at the Huckleberry Park, is that what it was supposed to be?
Maybe
Was that,
just rewrite the mission statement
yeah, I know, we
Into
can
a-
always do
into a
that.
general service of providing a service to the citizens of Christiansburg, that type of thing. I can't remember, I know Henry and Brad were on, Starks were on council at the time. I can't remember, but it was a consensus of the council. It wasn't just two people said, let's do it.
It was everybody on council other than Jim Van Hoosier was the one council member who basically said it could go somewhere other than downtown. But everybody else on council at the time said it. Basically, the directive was that it had to go downtown.
And I don't know if you want to mention, Randy, we've had a lot of internal discussion about the holistic approach to downtown and our long-term planning for downtown based off of how town council feels. Like, what is your vision for what downtown will look like in 5, 10, 20 years? And how do we work toward getting there? And what all are the separate things that work together to make it vibrant? So the farmers market downtown on its own isn't going to turn everything around. There's no one thing that's going to turn everything around unless I win the lottery and then I would give a lot of money to downtown, but we have been talking a lot about is that the wish of council to have a vibrant downtown and what that looks like for us to make steps toward getting there. And I don't know if that is what we're interested in, then, council gets to decide
Well,
what we
but
want
it's
to do.
even starting with the location. I think no visibility, taking away a street. I think there's a lot of things that you can look at it too, because you can also look at it from the perspective that I'm telling you. You can have a business that can also be competing with another business and you're paying all these fees and everything to be downtown. So what's the point of having something else that is gonna come and compete with you? Then all of a sudden you're like, well, what's the point? Which it was one of the reasons that I even own one of the businesses downtown because someone was really mad that other businesses were at the farmers market, were even competing with another one, with them being downtown. And so, and the town advertising for them for free. I mean, there's a lot that the town does for this farmers market. There's advertisement involved, there's all this stuff. So if you're looking at it from as a business owner perspective, is this really helping the other businesses around downtown? Or is that actually going to be conflicting to what you're trying to do, what your mission? Because I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, there was another business that was downtown and it was advertised by the town and paid with town. And so if you're providing those services for people to come downtown, and then what's the point of having a shop?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. So is that a rhetorical question?
So
Yeah.
I'm not in favor at this point of doing away with the farmer's market. And I personally think that given what we know or what we've been told, that the Huckleberry Park is the place at the moment to have it. So that's kind of where I'm at. A month ago, I probably would have said close it down, but I've done a little more soul searching on it and what I think that we should provide that opportunity for the Christiansburg residents and that what seems to be the best location for our citizens and the vendors is that we stumbled upon the Huckleberry Park. That's kind of where I'm at.
How much money does each of the vendors have to pay for a space, Chris?
They don't pay for.
How come?
We never charge for vendors.
But it's part of
We
the agreement.
did the first 2 years, but it's been a long
Oh,
time since we
okay.
charged.
That was before I guess.
Yeah.
I got involved with it. Ever since it's been on Parks and Recreation, there's never been a charge there. Honestly, we've talked about it, just basically for accountability standpoint, but it was one of those things that we were just trying to keep the market going. So it wasn't like we could charge somebody money and then they, it wouldn't work at that point. And so, we've been back and forth on, charging the vendors. We do charge for like the Christmas market, and the 4th of July market. If you are a farmer's market vendor and you're there throughout the year, then you don't have to pay that fee. But it was more about just trying to get vendors there ultimately is what it was. So you make a valid point in what you're saying, from a business standpoint. I guess the thing for Parks and Recreation is we just need direction of what you guys want, because when it was turned over to us, it was, we got to try to make this thing work. And so that's what we've tried to do, is to try to do our best to make it work. And that's why it's incorporated in moving to Christiansburg Huckleberry Park. And that's another part of why we haven't charged the vendors, it's just about trying to get people there to provide a service more than anything to our community. So I think that's the part, for me, and for my staff, of just having that direction of where we want to go, and we'll do whatever.
I think if we were to start charging, we would probably kill the market.
I think you're right.
There's been a survey of people that might be potential customers? Has there been a survey of the business people to see how they feel? If there are more businesses that feel like we're creating an atmosphere that may be harmful? Or do
We did a
we?
vendor survey.
Yeah, we did a vendor survey. I don't know that we did like a local business. I
Not
think
talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are other businesses that feel like what we're doing to try to help 300 people who want to shop local, which I like shopping
Yeah.
local and fresh, is having a detrimental effect on our local businesses.
We could definitely do that. We would just need direction on what location you would like us to ask businesses. Because I think we'd have a better.
I think it would depend on the type of businesses that are frequent and, the vendor types that you're having as to the.
But if we're gonna have it downtown, wouldn't we want to ask all downtown businesses?
No, it's just something to think about.
Yeah.
I like a farmer's market. I don't like spending a lot of money to make it happen.
Sure.
I've heard that
If it doesn't, if it doesn't
I
make
don't
sense.
think $7,000 is spending a lot of money to make.
Talking about the downtown project.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
$750,000.
I'm sorry, yeah.
So, I mean, if we were gonna keep it and give it a longer trial even, I'm for the park as well. Even though I love a downtown farmer's market, I think it does have potential to be part of a revitalization process.
Yeah.
But I don't think it makes sense right now to spend that money downtown. I have had a couple of comments myself, actually, just this week, about people who have been coming to the farmer's market at the park, and they do like it. And some of them were even from Blacksburg and have commented that you have more vendors than they've been having lately, and they like what you're doing there, so kudos on that, yeah.
Yeah, funny story. I'm sorry, you finish up.
No, go ahead.
I'll get my anecdote going. No, you go ahead.
That's really all I have.
Okay, well, the first year that we ran that market, we opened it on May 6th. And the number one complaint from the customers that attended the market, there were no fresh tomatoes. So it took a while, and they even had we put out sheets about the growing season that shows, hey, and I've noticed in the last several weeks, now that the produce is starting to come in, we're getting more and more produce vendors, and the ones I've seen over there, really nice stuff coming across there.
So, go ahead. I think that, up until probably before this meeting, I would have said, like, we gotta bring this downtown because, even as Johanna mentioned, the mission of the farmer's market has been put it downtown. It's a catalyst for economic growth, et cetera. But I don't want to put the farmer's market downtown to the detriment of the vendors and to be a hassle to the citizens, which I'm not saying that's what it would be if it was downtown, but it's a lot to put on the farmer's market back to say, you're going here so that all of our downtown can grow. I do think we need to make downtown a priority, but I also think we need to be responsive to the vendors. Like you said, maybe the mission now, or even the mayor said, maybe the mission now needs to change. I would say it probably does. Everything Johanna read, I think has been right in line with what, I understand the farmer's market to be, which has driven my desire to put it in downtown. So, it's hard for me to change my mind about that, but if the mission and the vision for the farmer's market is to be a place that supports small business, that is a community asset, that is part of that placemaking plan, that is part of that's meeting that community expectation and adding that community value, wherever that is successful, I'm okay with that. If our goal is to use the farmer's market to bring people to a place, that's one thing. But if our goal is to put the farmer's market to bring the community so that the community can easily access it, I think that's another. So I kind of think we need to adjust our mission and vision for the farmer's market. I do have a couple of really quick questions, and one of them is, do we have an average, how often are we getting rental requests for the shelter at Huckleberry Park for Thursdays?
So on Thursdays, not not very often, to be honest. Weekends are
Right,
slammed.
but
So like,
if,
we could not, there's no way we could do the market on a Saturday there because the people are renting that pavilion
For
way
sure.
out in advance, so it just wouldn't work. The Thursday thing, you know, when we made the move, there, we had to wait 1 week because we did have a rental there.
mhm,
But after that, we basically just blocked out Thursday so that we were sure that we had it. You know, the weekday aspect is probably is a little bit more doable from that standpoint. Weekends, there's no way we could do it.
yeah, that makes sense. And then what about the economic impact of sales? Like I can imagine through what I've read, through what I've researched, what the economic impact of a farmer's market in general is, but do we have like, I didn't ask for this, but is there a slide or summary of how you would summarize the economic impact or value of having the farmer's market?
So I do not have like an economic impact aspect of it. You know, again, I think it goes back to, the value is providing the service, you know, ultimately, but to have a specific economic impact.
Do you have any thoughts on how to measure that?
Yeah, I know. I guess part of what I wonder is part of the measurement of that is like licenses, or I don't know the requirements of purchasing licenses in order to do business in Christiansburg at the farmer's market, or tax revenue. I don't know. I mean, if they're selling food, obviously, yeah, you know, I anticipate there's some tax revenue there, but like, what are those? Those I think are the measurable things. The immeasurable things I think are like community value, and I think we get that through the surveys and things like that. Or I would be curious to see how many people who weren't in Christiansburg filled out a survey about the farmer's market. If they came from out of town, I would be curious about that. Not that we can.
Yeah, just
measure that.
clarification, I misspoke earlier and I went back and looked at the survey and I can tell you the survey questions if you're interested, but we did not ask if they were a resident.
So, I
We
mean,
just asked for people who attend the market. No matter.
I'd just be curious, like,
We do not require a business license to go to the farmer's market. And we wouldn't require a business license, all honesty, if they wanted to set up a roadside stand here in town, provided it's zoning compliant. They could do that and they still wouldn't need a town business license if they're selling goods that they produce on their own property.
mhm.
So there's
Okay.
actually exemption.
I don't have a problem with that. This just was curious.
I am really upset about this whole thing. Being a business owner, and one of the reasons why I actually met the people from where the shop, what I own today, it was because stuff like this was taking place. You have a big building, you're paying all kinds of money to keep, you're paying extravagant amount of money to have these things in your shop. And then all of a sudden, not only the aspect of advertisement for those other businesses that right now I'm finding out they don't need a business license. They are not paying no rental fees. They're not paying no nothing for that. They're literally just required to do nothing. I mean, one of the things that vendors want is the cheapest and expensive thing that you can get, the better it's gonna be. And that's for any business venture that you do. The same thing goes with customers. Customers want the cheapest thing that they can get. If I can get flowers from the side of the road for $5, like a lot of people are advertising, why wouldn't you? You know, but at the same time, there are businesses in here that pay a lot of money for that product to be in display, to be in good quality. And so I think, you know, it would be very different if we were in a place like Floyd that has a lot of farms around and things like that. But when you are able to come to Christiansburg and you are able to not have a, you know, all of a sudden you may shift those businesses that may have come downtown because that was the purpose of the farmer's market, to come downtown to get those things. And it can be flowers and once again, it's probably a conflict of interest because I have a flower shop, so I don't know how I keep that separated, but I'm talking from the business standpoint. If I am paying for this building to be downtown and this farmer's market was supposed to help this business downtown and all of a sudden you're moving it to another place, not only that, but advertising, and there's a possibility you may have flower business over there, you know? And so all of a sudden they're getting free advertisement, free everything.
We do try not, I mean, when you say advertising, I'm not sure what are referring to, but we don't really promote or market anything. We do list the vendors for that day, so people know what they're getting, but we are very intentional with not trying to be like, guess what? This food truck is coming. But I liked what you said earlier about a business survey, and if council would be interested, I'd be happy to put together a survey. And maybe I'll just we'll have Miles send it to all the businesses, but we'll ask some specific questions that are, we can ask some that are like, are you a downtown, or we'll have them pick their location for where they are. So we have that information, and then we can say, ask how they feel about the farmers market. Do they feel like it's a competition for their business? We can ask if they feel like it's worth it to bring more foot traffic to their area, even if there's a similar.
As a business owner, I have a feeling if they knew there were no fees, no license, no insurance, we would have a lot more vendors than we do businesses
I agree.
eventually.
Yeah.
That's pretty inviting, for somebody who has to jump through the hoops.
Sure.
And the majority of the people that set up at a farmer's market they don't have a large farm. They're not a large
Yeah.
business or entity.
But
So-
they could be.
But some of these vendors are going here one day, here the next, here the next.
Oh, that's their game, yeah.
Yeah,
But they're seasonal,
It's true.
Yeah.
But still,
it's not,
I've been
it's
in
not like
seasonal
our business where
businesses
we're
too. I
open
still
12
have all
months of the
those
year.
hard expenses.
We could also reach out to the other farmers market in the area to see what their process is for, we know some of them charge, but charge a fee for entry, but do they charge an insurance or a business license? Do we know about the area?
Some of them charge a percentage fee as well.
Are they,
Percentage of sales.
Like, would council be interested in us compiling that information to see kind of how we compare to everything?
Well, Radford, I know is privately owned and all the vendors take care of all the expenses and everything, so there is no expenses. Blacksburg is also a private thing for whatever that they do, so it's whatever they do, I don't know how they do it, but they are running it, it's not the town that,
do you know?
so it's the same thing, and so I don't know what Salem is doing, but I need to clarify this.
Mhm.
I know you said that the town is not paying for advertisement. I would consider that all advertisement. And there is stuff on Facebook that is being saying is sponsored or whatever, paid for, whatever that is. Was that done under, I know you haven't been here for many years working for the town, but that could possibly have been paid by someone else.
Yeah, I've been here
before
for
you.
4 years and we do not do that.
Well, there is stuff on Facebook and everything that I have screenshots from the past. Brad, do you guys, as the person that does the farmer's market, do we pay for anything at all for advertisement? Because we do. We have signs. That would be considered that.
We advertise the farmers market, but we don't advertise individual businesses.
It has the same effect.
It is.
We did get
Vendors.
grants for a lot of the signs when we originally set the farmers market out too. We probably made some sense then, but we got grants for at least most of the original farmers market signs.
Yeah, from a financial standpoint, we have paid for signage. We do social media. I don't know if we've done like a promoted social media.
think
I
you
have to go back and look and see.
Because I had some screenshots of some stuff.
Okay.
Not since I've been here.
I'm not sure.
Is that because don't you do something else with the Facebook? There is a farmer's page. Do you
Yes.
run that?
So we work with Brad's staff to run that, and they run. If they were to promote anything, they would come through my department, and we don't promote anything that has vendor specific information on it. And we don't really promote farmers market things either anyway. We rarely promote posts unless it's something that we feel like really needs to get more attention, but
Yeah, I think what I was referring to, not necessarily was promoting business, but you can do something to promote a post. I can't remember
Right,
exactly. what
right,
that
but
is.
we don't typically promote posts, like
Yeah, boost
we
the
never,
post, yeah. That
boosted.
is something that I think we've done before.
we've done that, but we've never done that for a post that talks about these vendors are gonna be here tomorrow, and then we pay money to promote that. We don't do that. What we have done, I think I may have promoted the, information that we were doing a revamped farmers market at the beginning of the season, and we were, adding events, but it was all general information. It wasn't specific vendor information. We try to be very
I
cognizant of
understand
that.
you doing what you're being paid to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But
But I see you're saying that you're
Yeah,
concerned about the
yeah.
farmer's market as a whole, even if it's just farmer's market generically.
I don't know.
It's still
I'd be
gonna be
concerned.
That's
If
right.
businesses are concerned about it, I would be concerned.
Sure.
I know
I
that's
don't know
not
the
paid,
answer
but
to that.
that was is that the town of Christiansburg page?
Would you like me to take a look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nothing that we've done.
It says Christiansburg Farmers Market.
This is from 2020, so this is nothing that we've done since I've been here for 4 years, but
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
There is
well,
a
this is
lot more to
unacceptable, but we don't do that anymore. But yeah, that's not,
There is a lot more.
but we don't do that anymore. Like, we would never post a picture of an individual business owner of any business and say, see, like, this is the business that you want to follow. We don't do
But
that.
can you see why I got into that?
Yeah.
There is a lot more of that.
I agree, that is not okay, but we don't do that anymore.
Thing I mentioned, I know Floyd was brought up. I do see Floyd a little bit differently than Blacksburg, Christiansburg, Radford, because their nearest farmers market is Christiansburg, which is a half hour away. So they kind of have a captive audience. Outside of Christiansburg, they're probably 45 or 50 minutes away from the farmers market. So Christiansburg's kind of their only other option. Whereas here, you've got the other options of Radford, Blacksburg, and Salem.
So they're all different days.
And Floyd, and they,
And that's-
they're different days, Blacksburg's historically been a large market. That actually hindered our creation of the market a lot. It kind of I think it was kind of hard to be able to pull vendors, obviously.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing I'll bring up too is I have a slide up here with just kind of final thoughts. And I'll say I struggled with this because I did want to kind of make a staff recommendation with this. And what I have is just kind of more of a generic, basically it was the directive of the town council that it be downtown when it was originally set up. And that we temporarily, the plan was that we temporarily relocated the rec center in 2020 with it because of the Hickok Street project. The last directive of council was that it be downtown. The staff basically feels it's obviously town council decision and we're going to respect that and support it either way. But I guess what I wanted to say is we did struggle with this. Like I said, I wanted to make a staff recommendation, but I think at least internally, staff-wise, you'd have to have a split vote.
I think what we do agree on is that right now, the best place is Christiansburg Huckleberry Park.
Yes,
We don't
I think
have a
that-
downtown
yeah, we don't really have
location.
another good alternative right now. So I think, the park right now is the location.
Mhm.
I think Brad, Parks Recreation perspective, setup is easier at the park. There's got a lot of vendor support there. And like I say, obviously some of the advantages of the permanent structure being there, bathroom access, things like that, very great.
Great place.
But I think at least more from administrative and public outreach standpoint, that the original desire of town council to help downtown. And, that was the original goal of the farmers market, to basically be a boost to downtown. I think it still has a lot of validity. Maybe we do look at potentially 2 days if you wanted to pursue the grant. Because I think we would lose a lot of the vendors if we moved it from the park. But if just like I say, I guess we did struggle with this, and it's not an easy decision. Like I say, I think administratively, like I say, I think you'd probably get different answers and probably have a different way of saying it, even maybe if we agree on the location. But it's a tough decision, and we're going to respect whatever you choose. We didn't want to put you on honestly. I didn't want you to put you on the spot and say, okay, this is a staff recommendation, and then you don't necessarily follow it. Because we want to do what council wants to do, and we're going to support it. As long as council wants to continue to fund it.
I would think,
Go ahead.
I think that the survey is a right next step of the business owners.
Would we like another public survey that is more
Yeah,
focused on some of the questions that we've asked today? Because what we did before the survey wasn't intended to really give us this kind of information. What we asked were questions like, we did ask, did you come to a farmer's market? If not, why? And then they can give their responses, what you saw. But then we asked things like, rank these in order of importance from most important to least important. What would cause you to come out to the survey? Which I would like to say, just a plug for the work that my people do. I think that we've done a much better job of trying to push out information and listen to the public and what they want. And I hope that that's helped some of our attendance, I would like to think. But we asked, to rank also their interest in food and then like retail type things, what they would like to see. And our goal was just to get information to help Brad's staff be able to make decisions on what we were trying to get for farmers market days.
Yeah.
But we can do another public survey where we can get the public's input on what they would like to see long-term. Would they like to see, do they feel value in there being a downtown location specifically? Are there strong opinions on how that impacts businesses, which would be a separate survey? Do they like Hickok Street, or do they prefer a different location downtown? We could also ask, there's a variety of questions.
I did.
we could ask.
A whole bunch of surveys back then. And one of the biggest thing, we probably got the most responses. I probably got the most responses back then was waste location.
Yeah.
Which back then it was different, but but
But that way you all can help, that can help, community input can help you all drive your decision making
and also to maybe, I don't know if you can do that through Facebook anymore, but I know in the past it was an ability, people do actually choose additional places to put in there. Like, for example, if you wanted the Wells Fargo drive-through, or if you wanted somewhere else.
I'll
instead
put
of
all
the
that
place.
in there. And what I can do before we send it out and push it out, I can send it to town council so that you all can look at it and see if there's anything like that you would like to add. One thing I will say is we are going to recommend a shorter number of questions. We're not going to want to push out 20 question surveys, even though I have 20 questions I'd like to ask the community. We really try to keep it very short and condensed. So, but I'll put 2 different surveys together, one for the public, one for businesses, and then send them to town council, and you all can let me know of any adjustments you'd like to make.
Are
How
these
do you-
generally multiple choice or?
We can do it a variety of
or
different
they
ways.
Fill in the blank.
We can
or-
do it a variety of different ways. So we can have some answers that are multiple choice. We can do some ranking. If we ask, we can ask one question that says, do you like a downtown location? If yes, do you prefer option A, Hickok Street, option B, Wells Fargo, option C, other, and then you type in what your other
I
suggestions.
wouldn't give another, there's not another place.
Right.
You'll end up with waste. You'll end up with waste again.
People tell me all the time that we need to have farmers market at the old Waits building. We don't own it.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole thing that people don't understand. We can't just take over somebody's parking lot and say, we're having a farmer's market.
And here is the other thing too, that if you think about it, when you're giving people choices, if you put that on there, how do you verify they're real business owners? Because
We're gonna
if
send
you
them
are
out.
providing this, because if
Good
you're
mind.
providing this and you're not paying for the licensing or whatever, sure, let's first say I have somewhere that I have flowers or something in a field or whatever, I want to sell them. Not just because you're a business, you can actually go and buy flowers from somewhere else and resell them. I mean, there's a possibility of that too.
We're gonna send them out to our business contact list, our email list. We're not gonna do that one for the public. The other one we'll do to the public. This one we'll only send out to our registered business owners.
Can you send it to all businesses, even like machine shops too, though, or do you just send it to retail?
I
What
would just say
What
retail.
we have is just our small business distribution list, because those are the people that it's really gonna affect.
It's not gonna affect Walmart.
Right.
Yeah, Walmart, Food Line, all them, they're gonna say no.
It's not competition to Walmart,
Right, no.
but small business.
And you well know, we can never compete with them, ever. on those businesses, we can. There's no way you can ever compete with Target, Walmart, Food Lion. I mean, that's the reality.
I would say when we operate the farmer's market in the full produce season, it doesn't even flip on their screen as to whether they made any money or lost any money when you're looking at that. I looked at this thing, the first 6 weeks at the rec center, we had, doing math in my mind, so I could be off by $100,000. But I tracked about $8,600 in sales. I threw out the first week to Huckleberry because it was a wash and rain out. And the other weeks at the Huckleberry, it was around $11,000 or $12,000 in sales to make up this 2,600.
If you have no business license, are you able to even have sales tax? You don't. So how is the town able to collect the sales tax? I know that it goes to the state and everything else, but I mean, that right there opens up for another thing. I mean, how many people are actually really paying the sales tax, you know? Because I mean, there is probably reasons why we have to figure out what the sales were, maybe from the state, because the state is what pays the ARC grants, right?
It's actually Appalachian Regional, because it's actually federal money.
So federal money is still taxpayers' money. So I wondered if a lot of that, one of the requirement, or maybe is there a requirement for us to provide the sales? Because if that is the reason why we have to provide sales, maybe the state, I mean, the government wants their money. And for me, as a business owner, that I pay so much taxes every damn month, I want to make sure everybody's paying their taxes, because that, if someone else is not paying the taxes, that may mean that our taxes all for everybody are gonna go up.
I don't know whether the vendors pay sales tax or not.
They are supposed to collect and submit.
Yeah, they're supposed to, yeah.
But you don't
We
have
don't
to, if
have
you don't have a
individual-
business
We
license.
don't have individual, like,
You can probably just do an LLC and just say, hey, I probably made $5,000 in the year.
yeah, I mean, basically, we're given, an estimated sales aspect of what they've sold and those types of things. That's where we're able to get these numbers. From a standpoint of sales tax, I think it's on the business owner to do that, is my
It should be
understanding.
reported as Montgomery County sales tax. In all honesty, we really only get about 1/6 of that. Blacksburg gets about 1/6, the county gets about 2/3.
But it's still for the business person that owns a business.
They should.
We go through the ringer on paying all of this taxes. I mean, we do. Not only that, but collecting that money, we have to make payments on that. And so this is one of those reasons why I understand why you want to have a farmer's market downtown to bring people and everything else, but if there is not an incentive for the town and the business owners and everything else, was there the point for even to continue? What are we trying to do?
So if we don't have it downtown, we continue to Huckleberry Park, it doesn't bother you as much.
You know, depends what type of business you have.
Well,
Because if you
I'm
don't
just saying
pay,
in general.
if
You're
I
saying-
don't have to have a business, I can always rent out the place to a lawyer's office, for example.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can sell flowers and I can just go and put a little thing over there or whatever, and say, hey, you know what, I don't need a business license. I don't need any of this. What's gonna keep anybody from doing that? You know?
Be limited to 1 day a week, 6 months a year. I mean, you obviously be limited in your sales, although you can go to other farmers markets too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I think I like the Christmas thing that you guys do. I like the July the 4th. Maybe we narrow it down to some times having it. Now, I know that people like continuity, but I also think that there are things that we were talking about, having special things that make people come to the town. Maybe there is a lot more chances that people will come to the July 4th to buy things and everything else, because it's July the 4th. It's not something that's happening all the time. It's something
Well,
special.
I think it shows if you have an event downtown, it draws traffic.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, in the.
But it all
the vendor-
depends what type of
Vendors that
business.
set up, and we're talking with produce vendors, and
Yeah.
I think Bruce was in, or Cavalier Farms, they've been the only one I saw, selling produce on the 4th of July. I can't
I
remember.
think for the 4th of July, he was.
And, you know, so obviously he had a good day, but it attracted the people. I think if we don't operate the farmer's market on the schedule that it's operating now, which is 1 day a week for the 6 months, then we might as well shut it down. We can't do it, so well, every other week, we're gonna have it, and then people will say, well, I thought it was last week. No, it's this week. I thought it's next week. No, it's the week after that. Consistency for the survival of the farmer's market is
Can we
key.
have
Is
a vote?
key.
Can we have a vote in town council regarding this, or even a further discussion about, not as long of a discussion as this is?
So,
But I think it's important to have the views from the other council members. I
You
know
want the
that,
surveys first?
yes.
I'm in favor of the surveys first.
How long is this whole thing going to take, do you think?
Are you trying to decide before the season is over if you want to cancel the farmer's market?
Well, I think for this year is already, we should just finish it.
Okay, so we've got until next farmer's market season to decide.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Or until
but I
we start
think it's
having-
important to
All right,
have the.
what you got, Retta?
views.
Retta's in shock. What you got?
So, from what I'm working with here, I'm going to have an answer for DHCD, what we're planning on doing. Because I'll either have to ask for an extension or, just let them know we appreciate all the time they've given us.
What's the deadline, Retta?
As soon as possible.
Because the
Do
lot
we
of
have
them trying
time
out
to
the
do a
work.
survey or not?
I would like you all to make a decision and have the most educated decision that you can. I want you all to get the answers you need.
I think it's important to have the other decision from the other council members.
We can't vote until we're in a council.
I
meeting.
understand, but I want to see their views
So-
as well.
If this were to come to council at the next meeting, we had it in
I think
the
we need
discussion by mayor and council. The question is,
the downtown. area.
do we foresee moving the farmer's market to downtown, or are we to move it, or we're gonna leave it where it is since it's already successful
I
out
can
there?
do a survey by the next meeting, not the one that's coming up in a couple of days, but I can do.
Couple
one-
days.
Or,
Like September,
oh wait, where are we?
Well, less than a week.
just one Tuesday.
It's on
This
Tuesday
this
night.
coming Tuesday, yeah, not this coming Tuesday, but I can have survey and all the results ready and compiled by the one after that.
Well, that cost,
Yeah, fine. I just don't want,
To drag it out for months.
well, but
Do you-
Hill Studio, anything that they're doing right now, they'll charge us for.
Right.
And I don't want them charging us.
Can we put a stop into that until for a week or
Yes.
two, make sure we don't pay anything else?
Yes.
Is there a consent? I think we can get that from here now, though. Is there a consensus that we want to not spend that much money downtown and part of that goes for now? Because she said that we can always reapply for this grant. And I mean, Hickok Street still, wow.
We're a year away from Hickox Street.
Exactly.
At best, a year away from Hickox
Exactly,
Street.
and so by then, hopefully, if that's the decision of council. But I personally think, can we get like a thing to just say, to move for voting in town council to say, we want it not in Peacock Street, is that okay, or?
I second putting that on the agenda for this next meeting, if we still have time to put it in the next meeting.
Yeah. we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming.
This Tuesday that we.
Because
we
the
make a
agenda's
decision
not been
To
posted
not
yet.
pursue Hickok Street.
Yeah,
Do you want the survey results?
I don't think so.
I don't think you have time to.
I don't think we need it.
But as far
I
as
think what we're
location,
making a decision Tuesday night on is whether we're gonna proceed with this grant on Hickox Street,
Mhm.
or are we gonna just,
So you don't want me to ask that? We're not gonna ask about the
I think-
public's input for grant moving forward and then money and what we've invested.
I would
I don't
personally like to see that information. I am leaning towards going to the park, but I don't want to make that whole decision without having an opportunity to let the public look in.
I think that it would be, it will give us an opportunity. I think I would like to see something, the consensus of what everybody's goal will be on Tuesday on this. Because like Greta's saying, it's costing us money to have these companies do work really on the hiccup
So,
street.
so right now, we're looking at a wound of $15,000.
Which is not a lot of money when you compare it to the amount of money we're gonna be spending.
Really 59. There's 44,000 and,
That's.
Yeah, but we needed that.
We haven't expended all. We
Right.
didn't spend that.
We only expended 15,000 of it.
okay.
On a total.
All right.
We
So
spent
15,000.
$15,000 before we.
Yeah, so $15,000
Okay.
comparing, I mean, we'll pay
Okay.
that in an interest rate.
Rev, You got something?
Review the contract and, with Phil Studio, and we can back out of the contract. What we'll owe is the amount that they have done work on so far, which is the 15,000. So
Thank
you would not have to pay out the entire contract of the 44,000. It would just be the work that they've done.
Do we think that pulling out of the contract for the bars will impact us applying in the future?
It's a possibility.
But I mean, it can be also another location, and I think until there is no point in throwing this money out there, and even because ARC grants still stay funding money. I mean, it's not like it's free. And I would say we really gotta make the right decision if we're making this. And I think it's for everybody.
And I don't want you all to feel pushed to make a
No.
decision like immediately. I will put any work that Hill Studio does on hold. And I'll make sure that nothing's moving forward. I can also let Mike know because some of the drainage project right now is geared towards the work that's going to be done for the farmers market. So like foundational work, things like that on that street.
So you can have a survey results by the first meeting in September.
Yes.
Thank you.
Then let's push the total decision until the first meeting in September. We'll just,
We won't be spending any money.
we're not spending money between now and then. We make the decision first meeting in September. Hickok Street, future of the farmers market period, based off a more informed decision.
I'll,
You got 3 head nods, Mayor.
You look,
You got 3 head nods.
okay,
I'll put a pause on all of that. And I'll let- Somebody.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that you guys have done, especially the PowerPoint. The best of PowerPoint.
Let's do a PowerPoint must leave.
I know, I was gonna say.
If you have any mind, let me know.
She's so good at that too, but I think you've definitely mastered that 100% over the years.
okay. So we are going to
September 9th agenda.
September 9th agenda. And that night, so council will see the entire thing. Brad, should we have this presentation available for council to see?
I think adding in the survey is what we need.
We can condense it with just the highlights if you'd like, and then we
Yes.
can add in the survey. So that,
And just to clarify, the next town council meeting, what we can do is definitely do whatever we're gonna do with the decision that needs to be made right now for Hickox Street. As far as the farmers market for next year, like Tanya said, we still got about 6 months or more for that. Obviously, it would be good for you to know, but we can have another work session about that, or we can actually talk more about that if the decision of us is to continue to have it at the Huckleberry Park or not have it at all.
I think the general consensus was just that first meeting in September, we're gonna push even the decision for Hickok Street to the first meeting in September.
No, I know that's to make that decision about, are we spending this money? Is this worth doing? But then there is a second part to this, which it is even the thing about what you said,
is this
Yeah, and-
even, we're to
But we're gonna
continue to
that.
have
We
this
should have information back.
by
We should-
then.
We
So
should have enough information, I think.
so hopefully we can make the
Okay.
decision for both
Yes.
ends.
Help unconfused me. Are we going to vote on anything concerning the farmer's market this coming Tuesday
No.
night? I got no's, okay. Then we'll just proceed to the ninth.
Got that, Tracy?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna put our agenda together.
Is there anything else that we've got to discuss on the farmer's market? I believe that is the entire agenda for tonight. If not, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for